Hello there, welcome to Wednesday's ESPNFC Live. My name's Mark Donaldson, delighted to be alongside one of my heroes growing up, Shaka Hislop. How are
Don't
you,
make it
sir?
sound like that.
Come on now. I remember those days at St. James's back in the
You
90s.
see,
I was there.
you make it sound like I'm about 40 years older than you are.
Well, you've aged better than me then, that's for sure. Today, we're going to talk Manchester United and goalkeepers and who's going to back up Onana. We're going to talk some transfer rumors. We're going to have a bit of fun as well with who the best Premier League / Premiership back in the day striker is of all time. And also, Shaka's going to try a quiz. Plenty to come over the next half hour or so. But I want to start, Shaq, with Manchester United. They wanted a striker. They got their striker, but the striker's injured, Rasmus Højlund. Plus, we don't know what's happening with Dean Henderson as far as a backup to Onana is concerned. So what are you hearing with regards to possible additions before the transfer window closes?
Well, I mean, certainly, I'll start with the goalkeepers because that's the easier of the two to address, certainly. Manchester United linked with a couple of goalkeepers who, I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about. That's not at all surprising because they are looking for a backup goalkeeper. And I feel that a backup goalkeeper is a different mindset. And you can go at this one of two ways. Somebody to push your starting number one who maybe has eyes on inheriting that number one shirt in the long term, and another who's a little bit more experienced, may just be in to offer that kind of shared knowledge and be happy to play in the League Cup or on the odd occasion if it thus arrives. That player, and I've been there, I've been that second string goalkeeper, is one who I think is better, who is more tuned to being that number two. That takes a specific mindset. So the short story the short answer to your question, Mark, is I'm not sure exactly what Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United are looking for specifically between those two. But in all honesty, in terms of the rumor mill and what may come of it, don't expect to be any goalkeeper that you know an awful lot about. Dean Henderson, you understand why he wants to move on. I think every time he's played, or he is at a point in his own career that he wants to be a number one. At some point, it gets a little bit tiring to be a number two if you're a younger and up and coming goalkeeper, as he was for both David De Gea and now you expect for Andre Onana.
Rashford's been playing up top with Højlund not quite ready yet. I don't think it's any surprise or any secret to say that Rashford's better coming in off the left-hand side. The interesting thing now is going to be with Mason Mount out until the international break. Is that going to give Bruno Fernandes a little bit more freedom to try and create? Maybe that will help Rashford. And then you've got Højlund to come back from injury. So is it okay right now, or has it been a start that's been disappointing, despite the fact that they did get that win over Wolves, which was mired in controversy with the penalty call near the end?
And I think that's the thing. While they did get the win over Manchester United, and yes, we've discussed the controversy, even aside from that, I thought Manchester United was second best by a long way to Wolves. A Wolves team that then followed up themselves by losing 4-1 at home to Brighton. So what does that tell you? Manchester United in their second game, yes, there was some controversy, which I'm sure Bruno Fernandes would prefer to talk about. But again, Manchester United was second best to Spurs and lost in that one, all right? Albeit against a waiter team that you figure will be competing for top six. I don't think top four. I'm sure Spurs players and fans think differently. So it's easier to paper over the cracks with that loss for Manchester United. So no, nothing about Manchester United's start to the season has been good, in all honesty. And as much as you talk about Mason Mount's injury and him being out till after the international break, I don't think his start has been anything to phone home about either.
No.
Maybe that forces Ten Hag to kind of readdress the midfield and the roles that those players play in the midfield. And maybe that makes United look a whole lot better. So we'll see as that comes together. But you mentioned Højlund and Manchester United. We knew they needed a striker. They brought Højlund in. He's injured. Maybe when he comes back, things look a little bit different. But I do worry about their depth, particularly in that position, because again, it's worth repeating. Nothing about Manchester United in the opening 2 games of the season has been all that encouraging.
Well, if they'd got the penalty at Spurs for the handball, and if Bruno Fernandes didn't have a 50 pence for a head, then he might have scored. It might have been a different story. What about centre back? Obviously, Martinez and Varane have got this pairing, which is pretty good. There's been some talk about Varane and Saudi. I'm not sure that's going to happen. It doesn't look like it. But Todibo from Nice has been linked. I mean, we covered Manchester United in pre-season. They signed Johnny Evans. He was training with them. So, I mean, if that's not a message that Todibo is on the radar, that Harry Maguire needs to find himself a new club, I don't know what is.
Well, I'm not sure Manchester United needed to be linked with anyone for Harry Maguire to get that memo. Let's keep in mind that whenever Ten Hag needed somebody to step in at centre back, he'd bring in Luke Shaw, who, in fairness to Luke Shaw, every time he slotted in as that left-sided centre-back, he was simply outstanding. You can't take that away from Luke Shaw. But if you're Harry Maguire, I'm not sure there needed to be a clearer message to him that he needs to find another club if he wants to play with any kind of regularity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while the move or proposed move, rumored move to West Ham continues to hit speed bumps, and we're not sure. Well, of course, there's been just as much speculation as exactly what's held that up so far. To your question, Mark, being linked with another centre back to Todibo in this case, I don't think adds to the message. He should have gotten that message a long time ago.
Yeah. But he's not the one that was offered the terms by Manchester United. They're the team that have got to try and get rid of him if they don't want him. It's not Harry Maguire's fault that they're paying him an exorbitant amount, and it's up to Manchester United to either pay some or get him off the books. That's their problem, not his. Now,
to that point,
mm-hmm.
Mark, I think Manchester United have a lot of issues, and the weird thing I keep having to say, partly in reminding myself, is that the Manchester United of today is not the Manchester United that I know. The club that could bid for anybody. The club that would throw their hat in the ring with the biggest and best in world football. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about a Manchester United who are looking for players on the relative cheap. By all accounts, they spend a huge chunk of their budget on Onana and Højlund. And not quite sure that they have that much to spend in further replenishing or building their squad. And now, as I'm looking, as we've been discussing Manchester United and their needs all summer long, I'll go back to the striker situation. They've been linked with Harry Kane. Then news comes out, certainly from the journalists, that Manchester United do not have the budget to afford Harry Kane. They don't. That's not the Manchester United I know. So now all of a sudden we're looking for who's trying to get rid of a striker. We're talking about Vlahovic at Juventus, who I like a lot, but it seems that they didn't have the budget to certainly pry him away from Juventus. I thought in terms of a cheap option, Mitrovic would have been a good option, but he's now gone off to Saudi Arabia. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at the likes of maybe a Lautaro Martinez, who I think would come in. He can play through the middle while Højlund's injured. He can also drift out wide, and we've had a lot of concerns about Manchester United's wide players, so he might be an option. But again, what will Inter Milan be asking? Are Manchester United willing to pay whatever that fee is? And so while we're discussing possibilities or likely strikers that can come in, you find yourself wondering if Manchester United can look at that. And then all of a sudden, now I'm looking at Jonathan David from Lille, who scored more goals than Balogun in Liga. But I'm reminding myself that we are talking about Manchester United, and all of a sudden having to remind myself that you're looking at bargain price strikers. Hopefully they come good.
One final question on this topic before we move on to the transfer rumours. Is this Manchester United team that has started the season better than the Manchester United team that finished last season?
No. A couple of reasons for that. I don't think Marcus Rashford had rediscovered the form that he had back end of last season. But then to expect a player, any player, to carry a club like Manchester United on their shoulders the way that Marcus Rashford did for certainly post-World Cup, I think is unfair. You would expect that Manchester United would bring players in to address that. But again, I don't think they have. The players that the money that they've spent on the likes of Onana needed because De Gea was out of contract and they decided not to renew. Mason Mount's come in. I don't think he's been good at all. And Højlund's been injured. So the version we've seen of the first two games of this season looks a shadow of the Manchester United we saw.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.